Oh. Om Sehna Vavatu Sehno Bhunaktu Sahaviriyam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May God protect both teacher and student. May He nourish us together. May we work together with great energy. May our studies be enlightening. May there be no hate among us. Om, peace, peace, peace. So we continuing the book, reading of Insight into Vedanta. We completed chapter 4, I understand. Chapter 5. So we are starting from chapter 6. That's page number 70. So now this chapter, page 6, chapter 6 is, we will not read the entire chapter. It's a short chapter, but it talks about the detachment. Yeah. So because I want to pick up the next chapter from today, which is more important. So chapter 6 basically talks about detachment, vairagya. What is vairagya? What is detachment? And according to the literature, according to Upanishads or the Tattvabodha, detachment is to refrain from indulgence in sense gratification. Now, the basic idea of detachment comes only after knowing what is real and what is unreal, what is truth and what is not truth. Once we know what is absolute truth, what is real, what is permanent, then the obvious outcome is to discard or drop what is not real, what is not absolute truth. So discarding or detachment of sense organs comes out of the knowledge of what is real, what is truth. However, there is another way of looking at it, and that is described in Bhagavad Gita by Lord Krishna, that detachment also, or vairagya, does not mean that you adopt the lifestyle of sannyas, that you give up everything, your worldly lifestyle, and go to solitude and pursue your sadhana. That is one way of doing it, of course. Vairagya is sannyasa. But for people living in this world, people like us, we don't have to give up what we are engaged in, our families, friends, our lifestyles, our commitments. We continue doing all what we are doing, but refrain from the attachment. Do not get attached to the action or the result of the action, which other words, we knowingly or unknowingly expect outcome or reward on our actions, on our efforts. And Gita says, just continue doing what you have to do without expecting reward or result or a fruit of your action. Whatever is outcome, take it as the natural prasad from the supreme. And that attitude, if you continue all your performances, all your activities, it is also detachment. It is also Vairagya. That is also sannyasa, which means that is something that we can do at our level, that we do not really escape from what we are, where we are. We continue to perform or act as we are, but without getting attached to the result of our action. That's detachment. So that's the crux of this chapter 6. Now coming to the chapter 7, page 76. This is the beginning of the qualities. We have spoken about 4 qualities. Yeah, Vivek, Vairagya, Sat Sampatti Chatustha, and Mumukshutvam. So Viveka, as we know, briefly we speak again, Viveka is the discrimination. Discriminating what is real, what is unreal, what is true, what is not true. That's Viveka. Vairagya is to discard what is not real. And then there are 6-fold sadhana, which is called Sat Sampatti. 6-fold sadhana. And last is Mumukshutvam. Now here it starts with those 6 sadhanas, 6-fold sadhanas. Sama, Dhamma, Uparati, Titiksha, Shraddha, Sadhana, and Samadhana. So this is a more important chapter. And so we will start with the chapter 7. Knowing about higher life is the first necessity. Mark the sentence. Knowing higher life, underline higher life, is the first necessity. Yeah, this is done with the help of books and teachers. Next, striving to seek the higher truth. Underline the word higher truth, is the next necessity. In that striving, there are several steps, of which the first is to know what is true and what is not. This is called Viveka. The second step is firmly resolve to give up what is not real and hence is becoming an obstacle to our knowing the truth. This is called Vairagya. The next step is 6-fold. The author has mentioned this before. He discussed these in detail now as there are fundamental sadhanas of Advaita. These spiritual practices are both to be practiced and, when perfected, to be considered as treasure. What are these 6-fold treasures? The great sage Advaita treatise is called Vivekachudamani, authored by Shankara. The great Advaita treatise is Vivekachudamani, discusses false appearance and the reality in beautiful way. It says that the having heard from elders, having read in books that Brahman is real and all else is illusory. If one still gets attached to falsehood, he or she will be in pain and misery for all time to come. How can we overcome our desire for sense objects? All sense are one voice in saying that practice is the method. Bhagavad Gita answers Abhyasa and Vairagya. The Gita uses the phrase yoga of practice. Sri Ramakrishna also repeatedly stressed effort. The 6 treasures of Advaita aspirant suggest only that the moment we stop seeking external things, our mind becomes cheerful and pure. Asserts Shankara in Vivekachudamani. Cheerful, controlled, quiet, and free from ambitions and desires, full of the power of endurance, it is for such that the doors of truth will open, says the great teacher. Controlling the mind is not that easy. In his Bhagavad Gita commentary, Shankara says that man becomes repeatedly deluded under the influence of totally opposite perception and forgetting the truth that has been heard again and again. He repeatedly raises false issues and questions, and therefore, observing that subject is difficult to understand, the Lord gives his answer again and again. Swami Brahmananda says, repeated failure is inevitable in the beginning, but keep your faith and redouble your efforts. There is no bondage worse than Maya. Even there is no power greater than yoga. Here, the yoga of effort also is meant. Through the yoga of effort, the aspirant attains yoga or union with the infinite. So this is the background of this chapter. Now, the first stanza talks about Samadhi, Sadhana, Sampati. That means, what are these sixfold treasures? What are the six spiritual treasures of an aspirant? Mind. So first one is mind control, sense control, mental tranquility, endurance, concentration, and potential faith. These are the six treasures for any genuine seeker of spirituality, of knowing the higher truth. Now, all these six treasures will be described or discussed henceforth. Each one of these six treasures will be discussed individually by the author of this work. So we do not go into particular now. These six sadhanas have been termed treasures because they help remove our age-long bondage and bring lasting peace to us. The six have been so well arranged that beginning with the control of sense organs, through the control of mind, the system takes us to the threshold of the self, capital self. We have discussed these six treasures already. Though Sama is mentioned first, Dhamma comes first from outside in. Dhamma is sense control and Sama means mind control. Next is Uparati. The controlled mind needs some object to think of. The only object, rather subject, of concentration is the self. So the controlled mind is placed on the threshold of the Atman again and again. We have to again and again bring the mind back to the self or Atma, which our sages say exists in the citadel of our heart. God resides in the heart of all beings, according to Bhagavad Gita. The small space in the heart, known as the Hara Akasa, is Brahman. So individual space in our heart, where the Brahman resides, is known as the Brahma, is known as the Dhara Uttarabheya. Dhara is the hole, is the cave. Dhara Uttarabheya, small space, and the same at the cosmic level is known as the Dhara Akasha, which is Brahman. So we do not worry about these technical phrases right now. Eventually it will be discussed. So we should bring the mind back to the source repeatedly. This bringing back is Uparati. In this way, we gain the capacity to endure the pain and pleasure without difficulty. As this effort intensifies, the mind naturally runs to the source. When the world fails to tempt us in any way, though there may be lapses at times due to the past tendency, mark this sentence, what is into the bracket. This is the reality for you and I. Though there may be lapses at times due to the past tendencies. So far it has been saying that we have to practice bringing our attention, focus, and meditate on our self, our Atma. Yeah. But it is not all that easy to control your mind. You cannot have that. So it says in the beginning, the lapses in this supposition, in this concentration can happen because of our past tendency, our samskaras. So this in nutshell also talks about the theory of karma. Whatever that we have done, and we have gained certain merit, and therefore we pursue the higher knowledge. If we have not gained the higher merits, we would not be studying this kind of literature. So it is all talking about our tendencies or samskara. We might have some tendency of ignorance, and that may happen while studying this kind of. So it can happen to all of us. Our effort is to bring back our focus to our self, the capital self, the Atman. So we should bring the mind back to the source repeatedly. Yeah, that's the Shraddha. And as this effort intensifies, the mind naturally runs to the source. When the word fails to tempt us in any way, though there may be lapses at times due to the past tendency, the mind begins to earnestly think of the Atma. This is samadhana. This is known as samadhana, that you are bringing back again and again your concentration to Atman, yeah, the Atma Vichar. Due to such progress, there comes tremendous faith in the things spiritual, which was until now somewhat unclear, and the soul pants for the realization of its goal. We have translated Shraddha as the potential faith or active faith. You see, there is a difference. Just talking about faith is a loose term. Here, it really means intense faith, active faith, or potential faith, tremendous faith. Because it is not merely faith, but tremendous force which breaks through all bonds to take the soul to the truth which it believes in. So once you know for sure about Atma Jnana, you have to remain steadfast on it, hold on to it. And that's intense desire or intense faith is known as mumukshutvam. This is the sixfold scheme of sadhana of the seeker for Advaita knowledge. Each of these six will be discussed in the next chapter. So I read it quickly because this is only a background preparation. Chapter 8 talks about this quality, this treasure, this sixfold treasure in detail, each individually. So we start chapter 8, page 80. And this we will go slow so that we get these points clear. The author of Tattvabodha now takes up the six sadhanas one by one. He begins with sama. In the imitation of Christ, now I want to, they're trying to compare this knowledge of Tattvabodha or Upanishad with the Christianity, what Christ was. The Christ was known as the Son of God. As a son of a God, he preached, but he preached based on the learning from the God, or so to say, the ultimate source. So I would avoid the first para, and we start from the second para, says sama. Sama. The story is told that once while in a small town on the banks of a river in America, Swami Vivekananda. Now here, let me explain you, because this is we are talking about sama. So here is the practical experience of Swami Vivekananda. Sama means controlling of your mind. And he proves by empowering your mind, you can achieve anything that you want. And these are his personal experiences in life of the Swami. So you can read that on your own. I do not want to read that because it only talks about his experiences. But turn the page and read page 82. Samaha kaha. That means what is mind control? It is restraining the mind from going towards sense objects. Yeah, very short definition, but very effective. Sama means control of your mind. And what does it control of what? by restraining the mind going towards sense objects, not sense organs, but sense objects. There are two things, sense organs and sense objects. And sense organs are known as the karmendriyas. Swami Vivekananda writes that Sama, when I close my eyes and begin to think, the organs are active. Our organs are active. So you cannot have a control. What are these? Our organs, for example, taste, tongue, our eyes, ears. Now you cannot shut your eyes all the life because you have to live your life. So the sense organs is not important, but sense objects. When I close my eyes and begin to think, the organs are active, but not the instruments. Without the activity of these organs, there will be no thought. You see what he's saying? There are two things. One is the sense organs, as I just said, different organs. They are just merely instruments. For example, eyes. When we say eye, we know that these are the two eyes. Now, what is the function of eyes? To see. But when science, if somebody who has studied it knows, these are only instruments. What really sees is those veins and reflection and the work of your mind. So eyes per se is only instrument. Without the power of getting the reflection and bringing that reflection to the part of certain brain, you do not see. So for example, my eyes are open. I am able to see all of you. Now, for whatever reason, if I have a defect in my instrument internally, eyes are there, but yet I cannot see because my internal organism is not functioning, is not working. So what he means to say is that sense organs are only instrument. What is important is ultimately your mind, ultimately your ability to perceive. There will be, you will find that none of you can think without some symbol. In the case of the blind man, he has also to think through some figure. The organs of sight and hearing are generally very active. You must bear in mind that by the word organ is meant the nerve center in the brain. You see, that's what we're talking. The nerve center in the brain is the main organ that really enables you to perceive. If the organs are destroyed by any means, even the eyes or the ears be there, we shall not see or hear. So in order to control the mind, we must first be able to control these organs. To restrain the mind from wandering outward or inward and keep the organs in their perspective center is what is meant by the word sama. And dhamma, sama is not allowing the mind to externalize, and dhamma is checking the external instruments. I will read again. This is the crux. To restrain the mind from wandering outward or inward and keep the organs in their respective center is what is meant by word shama. Yeah, so our sense organs are performing the role. The nerve center, so control of nerve center is shama. And what is dhamma? Is the gratification of our organs, our sense organs. And dhamma, sama is not allowing the mind to externalize, and dhamma is checking the external instrument. That means the organs, our external instrument. So do not indulge in satisfying your taste, for example. Yeah, or you want to satisfy hearing certain favorite music or eat certain thing that you personally find it tasty. that means your action is driven based on satisfaction of your sense organs. And that's, it means to control that is sama and dhamma. Dhamma sense, sorry. What is sense control? It is the control of eye and other external organs. If we were perfectly dead to ourselves and in no way entangled in worldly things, then we could be able to relish divine things and experience something of heavenly contemplation. According to the comments of the Imitation of Christ. So there is a mention of this sentence in the one of the contemplation of the Christ. There are 5 sense organs: eyes, ears, nose, skin, and tongue. These organs are not situated in physical body. You see, this is very radical statement. Normally we think these organs are in our physical body, but in reality, it is in our subtle body. That's what it talks about. There are 5 sense organs: eyes, ears, nose, skin, and tongue. These organs are not situated in physical body. The gross physical body is only instrument of the subtle body. You see, what we know of organs, sense organs, is only instrument. The one that we can see ourselves, our hands, or our skin, our eyes, or nose, or ears. These are merely instrument which is in our physical body. But the subtle body contains those indriyas, those nerve systems, which carries the message to the particular part of brain, and instantly it gives you signals. By eating certain things, your tongue is only instrument, but tasty or not tasty is decided by part of your brain. Yeah. And that is part of your subtle body. The sense organs are situated in subtle body. When a person dies, only the external instrument falls, but the subtle body along the causal goes out and takes another body. Along with the subtle body go all sense organs and organs of actions. You see, very significant, but it is not at this point of time, we don't talk about much. What happens when the consciousness leaves the body, and we call it death? The body has our instrument, sense instrument, but the functioning of the sense organs is part of your subtle body. And that subtle body, along with the causal body, leaves the body. And that's what we call the death. So death would mean that your sense organs will remain with your body, what we appear, what we know about. But the ability for functioning of sense organ, that ability is part of subtle body. From the beginning of creation up to dissolution, a personality goes from body to body and suffers endlessly because the sense organs experience the world repeatedly and bring desires to the mind. Yeah. Our senses are the doors to destruction. And this is where they prove that why they're talking about controlling your desires, controlling or developing detachment. According to Advaita, that it is this gratification of your source organs is the source of suffering. Yeah, so from the beginning of creation up to dissolution, a personality goes from body to body and suffers endlessly because the sense organs experience the world repeatedly and bring desire to the mind. Our senses are the door to destruction. They lead, or rather mislead, us to their respective objects, convincing us that the objects like smell, taste, touch, sight, and sound are eternal and pleasure producing, but we are deceived. We believe that that gives us the pleasure. And that's our mind conditioning. In reality, it is not the truth. It's like you buy a new car or a new house, and for the time being, that becomes the source of your happiness or pleasure. But that's short-lived. As you realize there is a new model that is available in market, the car that you bought is not as interesting as the new model, because then your mind, your desire is to acquire the another model or latest model of the car. So that's why they said that the pleasure or happiness does not belong to the objects of senses. Our senses are the door to distraction. They lead or rather mislead us to their respective objects, convincing us that the objects like smell, taste, touch, sight, and sound are eternal and pleasure producing, but we are deceived. The yogi who sits in meditation closes the eyes. The moment eyes are closed, half of the problem is solved because the yogi cut himself off from the world. Altogether, he can similarly master closing the ears, skin, tongue, and nose, restraining them. He has mastered the sense organs. Swami Turyananda, a disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, underwent surgery without receiving anesthesia. He told the doctors to wait for a moment, pulled his mind from the skin or sense of touch, and said, "Proceed." The surgery went off painlessly. You see, so this is an ability that one can acquire to withdraw from the senses, or rather sense instrument. And this is now also being studied as the power of subconscious mind. There is a subject called power of subconscious mind that you can withdraw, and you can, and I have studied that subject. I have got a training, and I have my personal experience that every participants were given an ice cube to hold in hand. So pick up the ice cube from your fridge, hold it in your hand, and check how long are you able to hold it. Normal cases, your hand will become numb because of the coldness. So the natural reaction is to drop the ice cube after some time because you feel numbness. Now, if you have trained your subconscious mind, you can continue holding it by auto-suggestion, telling yourself that hand does not belong to you. This touch, the skin is not mine. So to prove this, I underwent the experiment that there was a drum full of water and about 20 kg of ice left into the drum. So you can imagine how cold is the water. And I put my entire arm into the drum and kept in the drum for nearly, 20 minutes or something. Usually, the natural reaction is to withdraw because your hand gets numb. But because of so in science, in subconscious mind, you train yourself by giving auto-suggestion. And before you put your arm inside and you say, this arm does not belong to me. It's not part of my body. Yeah, that's that reaffirmation. Keep on doing. And then your arm will feel cold, but the message is not conveyed to your brain. Yeah, and that's reality. It's only the brain which decides, which feels and decides that you're feeling cold and you must withdraw. But if your ability to stop that message passing on to brain, nothing happens. And 10 minutes later, when I remove my hand, my arm was blue. It turned blue because of the numbness and because the cold blood circulation had stopped. But I had no feeling at all. And this is what it means, that you withdraw the sense gratification. Your instrument will be there, but that message, that internal vein that carries the message is what is subtle body, and that you can train. So that's the same example here is mentioned. If he can similarly master closing ears or skin or tongue and nose, restraining them, he has mastered the sense organs. Swami Turyananda, a disciple of Ramakrishna, underwent surgery without receiving anesthesia. So he could do it because he withdrew the feeling and concentrated on subtle body. The wise one control their senses and bring them back towards the truth. Such control is called Dhamma. Now we talk about third quality called Uparati. So Shama and Dhamma. Shama is mind control, Dhamma is control of your sense organs, not instruments. Uparati. What is mental equipoise? It is the following of one's natural duties. See, that's our literature says, follow the life of Dharma. Follow the life of Dharma. What is Dharma? Your natural duty. What is your natural duty? As a mother, your natural duty is to bear a child, look after the child. It's your Dharma, it's your natural duty. Same as for father and mother, or as a husband to wife and wife to husband, or whatever relation. That's your natural duty, which is known as a Dharma. And that's Uparati in short, but in detail it will explain. Mental equipoise is following one's natural duties. This is novel definition of Uparati. Generally, Uparati defined as giving up action or to formally accept the vows of sannyasa. The other definition of Uparati is that we should place the restrained mind on the self. Here, the author says Uparati means to follow one's natural duties. Though a person may receive the formal vows of sannyasa, his mind needs to be controlled. So mere external acceptance is not all. One has to accept the vows mentally too. For this, one has to perform all his duties, worship, prayer, daily obligatory work with dedication, and must not expect anything in return. This is what is meant here. By doing daily duties, Nitya Karma, without ambitious mind, one becomes pure in heart, and Uparati precisely means purifying of the heart. Purifying of the heart. You remember every time we spoke, information, knowledge, clarity, purity. So here is the purity of your mind, or purity of your senses are Uparati. Now, how do you achieve that purity? By practicing the equipoise or maintaining no judgment. It is also known as refrain from raga and dvesha. Raga and dvesha. Refrain from raga and dvesha. No judgment. Equipoise. And that brings you to the point of purity. Though the faculty called Dhamma, we restrain our senses. Through the faculty called Sama, we control our mind. When these two control organs are left for themselves, they are once again go outward. You see, we spoke about our tendencies or our samskara. No matter you control your mind, your sense organs, but at a time, you are attracted to the worldly pleasures. Yeah, your sense organs pulls you, and that's your nature of the Maya or mind that pulls you back to the world. Bringing back to focus to Atma is Uparati. Hence, the third Uparati comes to our help. Uparati is placing the controlled mind and senses on some inward object, engaging them. The best object is the self. This is our Swadharma. Swadharma is to focus on your Atma. Our natural duty is to think of and realize the self. That's our natural duty. So in English philosophy, they say purpose of your life. What is the purpose of life? This is the purpose of life. Our natural duty, our dharma, is to think and realize the self. Atma Gyan. Why is this so? Human birth is the most precious gift of God to us. As Swamiji says, the human body is the greatest body in the universe, and human being the greatest being. Man is higher than all animals, or than all angels, none is greater than man. Even the devas or gods will have to come down again and again to salvation through the human body. See, it is only during our human life as a human being the salvation is possible, or freedom, or liberation, or awakening is possible. Even devas, even the angels cannot do that without human body, because they do not have body. They have only subtle body, and with subtle body, you cannot close your karmic account. So important to know this. So it's very significant statement. Man is higher than all animals, than all angels. None is greater than man. Even the devas or gods will have to come down again and again to salvation through human body. Man alone attains to perfection, not even the devas. According to the Jews and Mohammedans, God created man after creating the angels and everything else. And after creating man, he asked the angels to come and salute him. And all he did so except Iblis. So God cursed him and he became Satan. Behind this allegory is the great truth that the human birth is the greatest birth we can have. Our human birth is the greatest because we can master ourselves and attain the truth. Our lives will be in vain if we do not do this. The Upanishad repeatedly said that those who die without realizing their true nature are worthless. Sri Ramakrishna said that the only goal of humankind is to know God or the self. Everything else is secondary or help towards the end. You see, self-realization is the only goal of attaining this life or having this life or having the human body. The purpose of life is only to realize the God, or realize that we are the God, we are the Brahman. Next quality, titiksha. This is, so we have done sama, shama, dhamma, uparati, and now is titiksha. Swami Vivekananda in the West New Discoveries writes in Boston, money was fast disappearing. The weather, even in August, seemed to him like a winter, and his clothes were not only inadequate against the early autumn chill, but could incite violence in the street. The story of one such occasion. So it's giving his personal experience of Swami Vivekananda to explain what is titiksha. So we can leave that for you to read, and we actually come to page 87 to read what is titiksha. Titiksha is forbearance, to tolerate with equanimity the duality like heat and cold, happiness and misery. See, we have to develop the ability to remain equipoised, to remain detached from deciding and making a judgment what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is not good, heat or cold, pleasure and pain. Basically accept what it is and do not expect. Whatever is the experience, endure it. And that power of endurance is known as titiksha. To tolerate with equanimity the duality like heat and cold, happiness and misery, etc. Forbearance is a great quality. The ordinary get affected at the slightest touch of problems. Whenever there is a difficulty, we ordinary people suffer immensely. We cannot withstand ordeals even to the slightest extent. This is because we are too body conscious. Then there are the touchy souls who are so sensitive that even a grave look seems to bring suffering to them. They cannot stand a stare, and they become overjoyed even at the slightest touch of happiness. So they become weathercocks, even change in weather telling upon their person. Can such people be happy, let alone their being spiritual aspirants? Therefore, one of the 6 qualities mentioned is imperative for mumukshu is forbearance. Forbearance means titiksha, endurance. That you should have the ability, develop ability to accept whatever it is, gain that power to withstand.
What is mumukshu, Acharya-ji?
Mumukshutvam is the last quality. Mumukshutvam is the intense desire, intense desire of liberation, active, intense desire of self-realization. So it is the objective of studying or pursuing spirituality or studying the Upanishad or Tattvabodha. If we want to continue living our worldly life and, attachments and sufferings, etc., then that's our fate. But if you are aware that purpose of life is to realize who we are, and we know we are the consciousness, Brahman, that's the purpose of life, and to stay with that understanding is these qualities, 6 treasures, that unless you have those 6 treasures, this will come, the feeling of this spiritual knowledge as a flesh. It will stay for some time, and then you are back into world. But to stay in touch with this higher truth or knowledge is the mumukshutvam, that unless you have that intense desire. So we will close after reading this mumukshutvam. Can such people be happy, let alone being spiritual aspirant? Therefore, one of the 6 qualities mentioned as imperative for the mukshu is forbearance. While the extremely body conscious become veritable thermometer, the extremely spiritual become like a huge rock. They care not what happens to their bodies or mind, yet they possess soft heart. They know fully well that these are but passing phrases. Here, one should be cautious to exclude the British personality who are too dull even to understand what is happening, while the brute is unaware of what is happening. The saint is aware of what is happening, but is so controlled as not to react on it. This reminds me of a journalist. I think we will close it here. You must have heard of the Nisargata Maharaj, the one who became so popular all over the world by declaring, I am that, capital that stands for the self, Brahman. So a journalist asked him that how can you detach yourself from the world and say that everything in your life is perfectly fine. You are satisfied and you have no regrets. When you know that next door there is a fight, in neighboring country there is a violence, there is so much misery, there is so much of suffering in the world, how can you say everything is perfect, everything is good? He replies, He says, in my world, everything is perfect. There is no misery, there is no suffering. What he means is that when you establish yourself as the pure consciousness, only the witness, then everything that is happening is a part of a game. It is supposed to happen, it is happening. Whether it's natural calamities or man-made calamities, it is part of the drama or game. So he says, when I know all that, not that I do not know, but I take it as a play. It's like you're going to a theater to watch a movie. In 2 hours or 3 hours, you see the entire life story of somebody. Yeah. And sometimes it's good time, sometimes it's a misery, sometimes it's violence. But it's only a movie. You know it is only a movie. There is nothing real. Similarly, Nisargadatta Maharaj says, I know that all this is what is happening. It's just a game. It's just a play. For me, when I know that I am Brahman, I am witness, I am pure consciousness, nothing affects me, nothing changes my opinion. I am only witness, observer, experiencer. And that exactly is what is spoken about here in Stitiksha. So we will next continue with this Shraddha, the next quality. Remember, these are the fundamental qualities for a seeker. We have not yet started talking about the actual Atma-Gyan or the self-knowledge. This is only a preparation. Yeah? Then it will talk about what is Atma, what is Jivatma, how did we come to this body, how did the manifestation happen. All will be explained in a sequence. But unless we know the fundamental grounds of this teaching, to talk about what is Atma and what is the subtle body or causal body, it will be superfluous. So this is necessary to understand or read and understand. There are many alaudas. One of them which I find it very interesting is, we all know that during a festival time or otherwise, we give or receive gifts from friends and families. Yeah, we give gifts, we receive gifts, and gifts normally is packed beautifully. Yeah, so you bought, for example, a precious ring, yeah, finger ring or diamond ring or whatever, but you do not give ring to somebody straight away. You get it so beautifully packed. Yeah, and so when you receive the package, it is like a box, beautiful wrapping paper with the ribbons, colorful ribbons, etc. Then you open it and open the box, then you realize the box is stuffed with all the protective papers and corrugated papers or whatever form or whatever different materials. You remove that, then finally you will see the precious ring. So in order to keep the small ring precious, you need so many layers of protections. Similarly, it says that your Atma, your consciousness, your energy that we all have is covered by so many layers of the body. So if the gift, if the wrapping paper is transparent, if our body, different bodies were transparent, one could see what is the content of the box or the container. So container is not so important. What is content in the container is more important. So when we drink a cup of coffee or tea, we have a beautiful jar in our hand and we think, oh, coffee tastes so well or tea tastes so well. Because you are the same tea poured in the tin jar, you would not probably like the taste of the tea, although the tea is the same. Because the mental condition, looking at the container, you decide is the content is good or not good. Same cup of tea or coffee given in two different containers. One is a beautiful, expensive mug, other one is tin jar. You know what is your reaction. And that is to bring our focus back to the core, to the content and not the container. I will let us sit another minute or so in silence. Try to replay all what we read today. Just a gentle contemplation of different points that we read today. We spoke about, in the beginning, we spoke about the detachment. What is the detachment? Then we spoke about sixfold treasure as a sadhana. Shrama. What is Dhamma? What is Uparati? And last, what is Titiksha? Asato ma satgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Samasta loka sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, God, for giving us air to breathe. Thank you, God, for giving us water to drink. Thank you, God, for giving us sun for energy. Thank you, God, for giving us food to eat. Thank you, God, for giving us good health and happiness. Thank you, God, for giving us positivity. Thank you, God, for giving us all that we need. Thank you, God, for your love, your protection, your guidance, your blessings. Thank you for giving me a chance to serve you. Thank you, God, for the existence. Thank you. Thank you. So we are continuing on Thursday and Saturday. I hope other than Aditi and Kapilji will be on time and we continue.
Yes, Acharya.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, Acharya ji.
See you on Monday.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank you,
day.
Acharya.